Hey guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. So I haven't filmed in a really long time, big surprise. Once again, school just takes over my entire life, and it's really hard for me to get back into filming because it does take up most of my time. So I spend most of my time studying and doing school stuff, and it's really hard to film during school because I know that if I film a video then I have to edit it, so it's really difficult for me to keep up with a filming schedule or really do anything. I really wanted to vlog a lot this semester, and I attempted to, but the videos never came out good, and I didn't feel confident about the videos that I was filming, so I didn't feel quite comfortable enough to post those videos because I didn't want to post something that I hated or that I didn't feel comfortable about posting. So today though is a really special video because I'm going to be talking about mostly what my life is now, which is school. So today I'm going to talk to you about how to survive finals week. So I personally find that finals week can be a very overwhelming time for people. Especially if you're in a major that requires you to take many classes that require you to take finals. Some classes you won't have to take finals, and some you will. So my major, I don't have to take too many finals, but it just really depends. I think every year it gets either a little better or a little worse. But today I'm going to talk to you about how to study for your finals and make the most out of your time. And all of the videos that have to do with studying, I find, are usually they give you tips like take breaks, take a nap, get 8 hours of sleep. Okay, all those things are super relevant, but I mean, those are things that we already kind of know. So now it's time to get into the actual nitty-gritty, which is actually studying and finals. And we're going to talk about how I study for my finals and the type of feedback that I get from my exams that prove that this method of studying is really great for getting the results that you want to see. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I took some notes about some things that the way that I personally like to structure my studying. So basically my favorite method of studying and the only way that I will study, this is it. I make study guides. So basically what that means is I make a guide of all the things that I need to study. That's what a study guide is. So basically, regardless of what your professor gives you, if they give you a practice exam or if they give you an actual study guide with topics that are going to be on the exam, you can make a study guide from either of those things. So it's nicer when you get a study guide from those professors, but it also kind of stinks because you can follow the guidelines of your professor's study guide and be able to, go through each topic. But let's say you just get a practice exam, it might be a little bit more, it's the same concept, you'll just be going question by question to make the study guide. So I'm going to show you guys how I make my study guide. So basically I will start with a marker that will head let's say exam 1 or exam 2 or organic final. So basically I will take a matching marker pen to the marker that I'm using to head my paper, and if I'm doing a study guide with a study guide, then I will take that marker pen and I will write down the entire topic that he put down. So he or she put down. So let's say that it was how to solve the quadratic formula. He or she expects you to know how to solve the quadratic equation. So then I would write down, how to solve quadratic equation. And then I would look up examples from the homework, look up examples from old exams, or if you've never had an exam yet, then the homework and notes and things, I would write down that equation. I would write down 2 examples of how to solve it. And then on the side, I would write, little notes to myself, hey, don't forget that you should add before this, or don't forget to take the square root of that. And then after all of that is done, then I will take a black pen, and I do all of this in pencil, by the way. Then I will take a black pen underneath all of that work, and I will write 1, and then I will go through all the steps that I did to solve those. So let's say I would write down the equation. So the negative of b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So I would write that in like number 1, and then I would say like, first you do this, and then I would write number 2, and then I would say then you would do this, and I would go through all the steps of solving such a problem. Now the same thing goes if you were given an exam instead of a study guide or practice exam. You will go through and obviously do the practice exam, and then correct yourself, go through it, learn it, and then once you're done with that, you'll take a notebook, once again head it to whatever exam you're studying for, and then I would take a black marker, label the number of the question, or not a black marker, a black pen, excuse me. I would take a black pen and put down the number of the question, and then I would write down the skeleton of the question. So like maybe I would abbreviate the question itself and be like, and so instead of writing the full actual question from the practice exam, I would abbreviate the question, like say, find this, given this, 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 and this. And then I would take a pencil and I would work out that problem underneath the black pen, which is like the question. And then usually what I'll do is I'll either copy it off of my work from the practice exam, or I'll flip over the original practice exam, and given like the written down question, I would solve it again to like quiz myself, flip back over the practice exam with the correct answer, and make sure that my answers match, or if I do the same steps, or if I did it differently. Usually it's the same. Because I already did it previously, so I remember certain things about the question. If I got it wrong, I will like erase it and copy what I did on the practice exam and put that on there. And then after that I do that, then I take the matching marker pen and I will write underneath it the step-by-step on how to do or solve that problem, just like I did with the study guide. It's just, I like to color code mine differently for different things. That's just my personal preference. So basically I will go through all of my practice exams, every single question, and do that. And I'll do the same thing with the study guide. And then after doing that, I usually will buy a pack of index cards, and I will either get I prefer to get like the bigger ones, and what I do is I take a matching marker and a matching pen. And so basically what I'll do is I'll go through my practice study guide or my practice exam study guide, and I will go through each question and be like, hey, so this question is about this topic, so I'll write that topic on the front of the index card, and then on the back I will take all of the step-by-step information and write that down. If I want to quiz myself on the steps, or if there's like a certain equation, I will put that on there and go through all the rules or things that I might have highlighted about the question to remember during the exam, and I will put that on the flashcard, and I go through every single question if it has pertinent information to memorize. So I personally like to color code my flashcards because, first of all, I did it because I thought it was maybe more aesthetically pleasing to color code them. But I found over time of using this technique that when I'm taking an exam, or if I'm going through the practice exam again, to really solidify the information, I'll remember the colors of the flashcards and remember the things that were on the back or what they looked like or how I wrote them. So I personally think that color coding is so important because it will allow you to associate a certain color with a certain type of information. So basically I've used this technique for many of my classes. You can use this technique for sociology, psychology. I use it personally for me for my chemistry classes. I've used it for my chemistry labs. I've used it for my physics lab. I've used it for physics. I use this technique for calculus. I love this technique. It allows me to see the question, remember the question, and remember the step-by-step ways to solve the question, the equations given, things to remember if you get a certain type of number or a certain type of thing for your answer, how to like word my answer if it's like a long question to answer. It's just a really, really great like way to really solidify the information into your brain. So that is my favorite technique to study, and I 10 out of 10 promise you that if you use this technique properly and you study hard enough, you will get the results that you wish to see. But let's say you're not really given much of really anything. The best bet is to find resources that will work for you. So personally for me, my favorite resource to use is Chegg. I love Chegg. I think it's really, really great. If there's a question on a practice exam, I'll just type that question into Chegg, and somebody on Chegg will have already solved that question, and I'll be able to learn how to do it for the exam. And usually it works out perfect for me because sometimes like the professor will give you things that you've never talked about in lecture before, and that's when Chegg and other outside resources come in handy. So I personally love Chegg because it offers you, tutors and other things and other services, and I personally use it all the time, and I can't imagine my life without using Chegg. There are also other resources you can use, like I've seen ads for like OneNote or Course Hero, and a lot of my friends use those services as well, and I've heard that they're really, really great. I believe that OneNote collects like notes that people have submitted from your specific course at your specific college, so you can go through specific notes that people have submitted in there. And I personally don't have a subscription to this, but I'm really looking into it because I think that it would really be helpful for me in the future. Another technique that I find is really foolproof, and I wish I would have done it more often this last semester, is taking my old exams and a piece of paper and writing down all the things that I missed and correcting them. I wish I would have done this because in the final, usually most finals are cumulative, and most of the information that you're learning is something that you'll really need to know for the future or future classes. So it's really important to relearn that information if you didn't get it right on the exam. And usually the more information that you learn in lecture builds on top of those topics. So it's really good to have a good foundation before you start building a house. So I personally wish I would have done this more often, and I think next semester I will be really practicing what I preach. So this is a really, really good technique, and I think it's a really great one to practice, especially going into college, because it's a lot more buildable than high school is at such a short period of time. So it's really important to really have a good foundation. So this is like super important. I think that a lot of people talk about this, but they don't really talk about the necessity. They just say, find someone to study with. That's, all grand and stuff, but what does that really mean? Okay, so the first day of class, you usually find a seat and you usually sit there the entire year. Look around the classroom. Find somebody who looks appealing to you, someone that you could probably get along with, and sit next to them, or ask if you can sit next to them. That's how I've made a lot of my friends in college, is I just sit down next to somebody and be like, hey, what's up? Like, how are your classes going so far? How's your first day going? And just making conversation, and you can really make really cool friends. I've made really good friends from lab partners that I've approached about being lab partners, like people in class. I've made a really good friend in my English class by asking her if I could sit next to her. That's how you make friends, and it's especially important if you're in a class that's really hard, because everyone else feels the same way. So sit down next to somebody, ask them what their name is, ask them what their major is, talk to them, and maybe you'll make a lifelong friend or just even a study buddy. Studying with somebody, especially when you're in a STEM or in a class that's super hard, is really important because you can put two heads together, ask each other questions, go through exams. If they know something more than you know something, or if you know something more than they know something, then you can teach each other, and the best way to learn is by teaching. And I find that this is so true. And I think that it's really important to find somebody that you can trust, find somebody who is efficient or like you, as far as like studying habits and patterns. Get together and put your heads together and study. But it also is important to do self-study. So make sure you study by yourself, and then once you feel kind of confident about the information, or that there's a lot of things that you're missing that your friend knows, meet up with them. Meet at the library, meet at a coffee shop, and talk about the information. Of course, take a break and take funny videos of each other. I don't know, just like relax in between this collaboration. But it's important to collaborate with people because some people absorb different types of information than others. So you might make a good friend who could be really, really helpful to you before an exam. So important. One of my favorite techniques to use that I used along with my study guide, if I don't have flashcards, I use this technique all the time, and people make fun of me for it, but it is my favorite technique to use. So this is funny because this has all my old writing on it from my calculus class that I took over the summer. But I buy these little whiteboards, and I will take and find a question, and I will solve it on my whiteboard and talk to myself while I'm doing it. Talk about the steps that I'm doing, how I got there out loud. And basically, like then I will check my answer on here and be like, okay, so that is how I did it. that is how you solve it. And every time that you go through the motions of teaching, your brain is absorbing all that information. So I really find that the whiteboard technique is my absolute favorite. I have multiple whiteboards in my room at my sorority house, and I have multiple here because I love these and they're super cheap. I just buy black markers and I write all over my whiteboards and talk out loud, and I find that it's a really, really great and efficient way to study. And honestly, as long as you stay calm and don't stress yourself out and you really just like become zen with yourself while you're studying, you will do so well on the exam. I promise. If you guys have any questions or want to share techniques, make sure you do so in the comments down below. It's really important to share techniques because a lot of people don't have a technique for studying, so it's really important to share, and that's why I wanted to make this video today. Also, I just wanted to mention that I use a really specific playlist for when I'm studying, which is super cool. It's like acoustic and very like calming, and I'm gonna link that down below. It's on my Spotify, so if you want to follow me on Spotify, you can. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm really excited to film it because I think I might make a difference in somebody's life, and that's the important part, is being able to share information and make a big difference in somebody's life. So I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas or Happy Holiday and a great New Year. And I can't wait to see what the New Year brings for my channel. I'm going to try and film as much as I can. I can't promise a lot because I'm always so busy, but I really am looking forward to filming more videos for you guys. So I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching.